Good. I screwed that up. Good morning, Ultra Engineers. Today we have a very exciting episode of Weekend Workshop. I think this is number 52. I'm getting too good at this radio voice thing. I think I could be a very good DJ. Uh, this is a screenshot from our very own magnificent Klepto 2. And this is actually just showing the atmospherics. But he's got a whole system worked out for rendering planetary scale realistic atmospherics. And he even has it set up so that where he can adjust the time based on the date and the location on the Earth. He can adjust the lighting level and like the sun angle and everything. So he's doing some really cool stuff. And I kind of told him, like, I was doing some work with some experimentation with like geospatial mapping and stuff for some NASA stuff. And I told him, I kind of gave him an told him I was like, showed him some of the stuff I was doing and the direction I was kind of working on. And he's doing some really cool stuff on his end. So we'll just, it's up to him, when and how he wants to release it. But he's always doing great work, and he's actually written a lot of very cool shaders for us. So thank you, Klepto, too, for all your contributions. You're really a very valuable person for our whole community. Can we get a golf clap? Thank you. Okay. So this week, mostly I was doing bug fixes. 17 bugs were fixed. I also got the option to toggle the terrain foliage on and off in the editor, which Andy90 asked for. So that'll make it easier. You can hide all the foliage at once, so it'll make it easier to work on your map without seeing a bunch of trees all over everything. I added a page for 3D World Studio. And at this time, I'm just kind of trying to gauge demand. And I also performed like a pretty in-depth analysis of all our Steam data from 2024, both traffic and sales. And I found some interesting information in that. So let's take a look at the 3D World Studio page. It's ultraengine.com/3D World Studio. Okay. I don't know how to hide this. Okay, so 3D World Studio, level up your game. So 3D World Studio is a engine agnostic level editor. All the great features we have in Ultra, this could be made into a standalone 3D level editor. And we actually had this before 3D World Studio was around before the engine ever existed, which a lot of people don't know that. I just wrote the engine because the editor started to support features that other engines did not have. So I even included like all the things it would be compatible with: SCP Containment Breach, Blitz 3D from the late Mark Sibley, Torque game engines, Game Guru Max, and probably other products from there. Even Unity, Unreal, and Godot. So the idea is just this would be able to export a GLTF file, and if you're interested in it, I suggest pressing this button and joining the dedicated mailing list for this. If you have Ultra Engine already, you don't need to join this, and I don't recommend you do. But this is just for people who might be interested in 3D World Studio. And I don't know if this is going to happen. It's just if there's significant demand there, then we'll go to the next step, which is probably putting up a Steam page. And then the next step will probably be a crowdfunding campaign, and we'll just go from there. It just depends on if people, are there a bunch of 3D World Studio users hanging around who would like a new version of this? I don't know. But I'm willing to ask the question. Okay.
You could make a short video exposing that as an option, which could drive traffic for those cells.
Possibly, but let's just take it one step at a time. So that's that. That's what I did on 3D World Studio. People were asking about it, and so I said, okay, I'll give it a chance. Okay. I found some things out from my analysis of Steam, and I talked to Valve in depth about the information I found. I sent them a spreadsheet and like pointed out some odd inconsistencies. And basically, it boils down to due to some ranking factors associated with the app ID, the Steam algorithm keeps preferentially showing the Leadworks app ID. It thinks that the Leadworks app ID is a good one, and it thinks that the Ultra Engine app ID is a bad one. Even though Ultra is making more money than Leadworks by a lot, it keeps pushing more people towards Leadworks. Um, that's a problem, and I don't know what can be done about it, but that's what I discovered. Like, um, this kind of blew my mind, but because I always assumed that if you just optimize like your conversion ratio to where like if people click on your store page, then they'll and they button their if they're more likely to buy it, then you get more visibility. That, and if you're driving traffic to Steam and people are buying it, then your visibility in the system will go up, and it doesn't work like that at all. It works according to completely different criteria, and Leadworks happens to be good in these areas, and the Ultra App ID is not strong in these areas. So Leadworks is getting treated very well, and the Ultra Engine App ID is getting treated like a new like indie game that nobody's ever heard of. Even though Ultra, in spite of that, like Ultra keeps making more money than Leadworks, but it still gets treated worse, which is
Why,
really really strange.
why you're not changing the apps?
What do you mean?
Make Leadworks to Ultra from the ID and Ultra to
Just
Leadworks.
swap them. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they did it with Counter Strike. There is no Counter Strike Global Offensive anymore. It's Counter Strike 2. They just override it.
I don't know. I'm just right now. I'm just pointing out the problem, and I don't know what to do about it.
On the LeadWorks on Steam, could you put a link to Ultra as the latest, greatest thing so that they could actually click on it and go to your Ultra engine from LeadWorks? So anyone that goes to that site knows that there's a later version of
Yeah,
an
we
engine.
already do that. We have a bundle that upgrades to upgrade from Leadworks to Ultra, and so the numbers that I'm seeing are already in spite of that being there. So like in some high profile areas, uh, Leadworks is about 28 times more likely to be shown than Ultra.
I'm
Not
just saying
28%, 28
when
times.
Well, even when they see the lead works and then there's a link to the latest version because they're looking at only purchasing one engine, they could click on the link from LeadWorks to Ultra to expose them to your latest version.
You can't promote another product on your on one Steam store page. You can't promote a different product on that. So anyway, some
So you have
people.
no control over how to control it. What are your options?
I don't know. I found this out, and I just wanted to present that to you guys, and maybe just think about it, and maybe we'll come up with something. I don't know. Uh, okay, this is funny. Uh, I don't believe in roadmaps, and okay, so I this is gonna sound super pretentious, but I try to be like the Steve Jobs of game engines, and what I mean is, he was the CEO of Apple, and he cared very much about his products. Do you think that the CEO of Dell cares about the spacing in between the keys on the keyboard, or the color of the trim on the box? Like, I disagree with many of Steve Jobs' decisions, but he made decisions. He made opinionated. He had an opinionated vision of what his entire company and products should be, and that is what I mean. Like, even though I disagree with like most of Apple's design decisions, actually, like at least they make those, and a lot of other companies don't. And that's why I'm like very obsessive over the user interface. I try, you know, I try to put everything that you need like front and center. And I'm very like picky about the workflow, and that's what I kind of mean. And so I asked AI to create a quote, a fake Steve Jobs quote about why he didn't strictly follow roadmaps. And what it came up with was actually like really good, because this is exactly what I think. I just didn't know the right words to put into it. So this is my fake Steve Jobs quote. Innovation thrives in the realm of the unexpected. Strict development roadmaps can confine our creativity, stifling the very essence of what makes technology transformative. Instead of rigid plans, we must embrace flexibility and intuition, allowing our passion and insights to guide us to the next breakthrough. And that actually, like, that's not just flowery language. Like, that is exactly what I think. Like, um, many times we're at a critical juncture and we just have to rely on our intuition. It's like something is telling us, we can't really explain why. Like, our reasoning and our intuition are two different things. And our reasoning is saying one thing, and our intuition is telling us a different thing. And so if you're too dragged down into details and too too focused on the small details of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, then you lose that guiding ability, and you actually end up like wasting a lot of time that way. And I kind of had that feeling at the end of the year. Like, I just finished up like that big block of 3 months of work, and I had the feeling that something, I wanted to like kind of assess the direction we were going in and switch things up a bit. Maybe I felt like there was something that needed to be changed, but I wasn't exactly sure what. And I actually think, and originally we were planning to have like 6 months more of development in early access, and then launch 1.0 with everything that we could possibly want. And I actually don't agree with that now. I think we have enough features right now for a finished version. I think Ultra has been in development for a very long time, and it's been in early access for a long time. It's time to get to the full release. There are people who want to use it right now, but they don't want to use a beta product, which is understandable. And they're not going to care about like some fairly obscure feature that they don't even know what it is until I explain it. So I think we should actually like say, okay, we have enough features now. Let's get to the full release. What is everything that we need to do the full release? And once that happens, I think I want to, like back in the day, like Leadwork, basically a lot of people who used Leadworks, a lot of people wanted tutorials that would go through the documentation and learn everything, but then they would be like, well, how do I make a game? And I didn't want to put the time into it because at the time, like I wasn't really happy with the design of everything about Leadworks. I wasn't completely happy about the graphics. It was very hard to get good artwork back then, so it was very difficult to make things look good. And we have a lot more easy access to a lot of good free content now because we have the GLTF format. It's very easy to get materials into the engine and have them look right. I mean that used to be a huge issue before PBR, before GLTF. Like the materials in the modeling program would never look the same as they would in the engine. And we have all of all these things in place now. Like the pathfinding system for Leadworks is way better than, or for Ultra is way better than it was in Leadworks. All these things have been thought about in a great amount of detail. There's a much stronger foundation now. So I think there's somebody like I think his name is WeDo, maybe. I think it starts with a W at least, and he's he's been in these meetings, and what's nice about him is he's a beginner, but he's not arrogant. He's not like insecure. He's a beginner, and he asks questions, and he's very clear about his thought process. Um, so he'll say, "Yeah, this I want to know how to do this, but I don't know." And that's somebody who's actually like really really valuable to get feedback from, because they can explain to you exactly like what they're thinking, and they don't try to hide, that they're not an expert. They're not pretending to be an expert. Um, so I feel like that was sort of where Leadworks left off. That was where it kind of let people down. It's like that there was definitely like those users who were able to like make some things, but they didn't know how to make a game. And I would actually like to dedicate some time to um, developing a series of tutorials that do exactly this, because I think it was here last week that somebody pointed out that the Leadworks tutorials, they would literally like even teach you what a variable is in Lua if you didn't know. Like they taught you Lua programming from scratch. And so I'm thinking a lot about tutorials, and I feel like we have the system in place now that we could actually fulfill that in a way that Leadworks was not able to. Um,
Is
so
there a way to bring the tutorials that's in LeadWorks, update them for the Ultra Engine, and then place them on the Ultra Engine tutorial site?
Well, not a, well. I mean, what like the Lua stuff. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is still relevant to the Lua programming tutorials. I plan to just take those and update them for Ultra, and a lot of that stuff would be really good.
Or do you mean that you're going to start doing tutorials that are more foundational, like how to make a first-person shooter, how to make a Kerbal style game? Is that what you mean?
How to make a light switch turn on a light without making a 20-minute video.
Yeah,
Touche. Got it.
yeah. I think well, we also need videos, but they shouldn't be. They should be straight to the point. Like this is how you're gonna do this in Ultra Engine. To do this, you do this. You click here, you do this. So I think we need videos too.
Ben, do you mind if I tell them like the background of that comment? Okay, so
Please go right ahead.
okay, Ben was complaining to me. Ben's an artist. He's a very good artist and a uh, very good at his job. But so he was kind of complaining to me. He was like, I was watching this video on Godot, and it was like 20 minutes long, like how to make a light turn on a light switch. And I just sent him at like in 1 minute. I sent him back a screenshot of like the push button component going to the appearance component on a light in Ultra in the flow graph. Um, so that's kind of what I mean when I'm like all these systems are in place now to where we I can teach people how to do something without having to write without it being over specific, like without having to write like a whole system for a very specific type of game. Um, that's what I mean. I will be your teacher.
I think you also need tutorials on just basic editor interface, like you did with Agor back in the day.
Also, we need a material and water material.
A what?
And water material.
I'm getting to that. It's on my list.
Josh, you could be a guide, and then they teach themselves according to what you guide them with the what you present, and then they expand from that according to their needs.
Well, I think the idea here is how to put it into a cohesive series. I don't want to just like have a bunch of random questions. I want to make a cohesive series they can go through, like educational material. Like so that's kind of what I'm looking for is like how do what are all the things people want to know how to do, and then how do you tie it all together into a series that they can go through step by step and have it be an enjoyable experience. So I don't know,
Yeah,
something else to.
You could set
I
up
think
raw games of different simple projects and
yes.
have the formula of each video according to what the person wants to take out, and they would skip the ones that they do not want in their games, and others that they want to emphasize. They would go more detail with what you're presenting.
Okay, so what are those games?
I agree. I think the what is really being stated here is more foundational. You would like to make a Kerbal game. You'd like to make a Call of Duty game. You'd like to make a Grand Theft Auto game. Okay, here is how to set up a very basic version of that. What is extracted from that to integrate into other demonstrations or games, whatever you'd like to call those simulations, that is to the eye of the beholder, right? The person making it. But I think that I always thought that you had the best tutorials because like you said earlier, you explained everything from the beginning. Here we need to set up a variable. First we need to set up we need to expose that variable to the editor. So let me show you how to do that. You took people through that. The thing was is that people learned how to do this one thing really well, but then sometimes there wasn't a way to bridge off that. But yeah, if you look at Godot or any other video game engine, somebody has sat down and made a 10-part series of video tutorials. I think that'd be a wonderful idea.
It's root information that you be presenting. It's up to them to expand it according to their needs.
Yeah.
You could make a free Udemy course.
Yeah, that might
Or
actually be good for getting additional views, or just take the same content, I guess, and put it on Udemy.
Yeah, you should also like the benefits that other engines have is that you can pretty much YouTube your way out of any problem. So I think that also needs to be a factor.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
some of that I don't. Some of that is out of my control.
right.
But some of it is under my control. So it's like, what can I, with war is all about like what assets you have and what you can do with them, and strategically, like if you're playing like the old like World of Warcraft before it was an MMO, back when it was an RTS. You can't if you just send all your peasants straight to the enemy base and start attacking, then you're just gonna get you're just gonna get killed. If you spend all your money on dragons, then your peasants are all gonna die, and you're not gonna get any more money. So you have to like strategically like build up one piece at a time. So yeah, if I spent like 3 months just writing tutorials, it would be probably a very, very good investment, and then other additional content would probably come out as a result of that.
the other way would be you could work together with some YouTubers which are creating games. Maybe some smaller YouTubers, and yeah, work with them together that they make tutorials for your engine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like, yeah, I mean, there's already like our YouTube channel doesn't get that many views, but there's the channels that actually get the most views are the ones that are just kind of they cover everything, and they have the advantage that they're not tied to one specific technology. They can just they can talk about every technology out there.
Have you thought about reaching out to a creator that does engines and have the different display so this don't tie you down, but you give the meat of what needs to be displayed under the Ultra engine, and they would be the creator of those presentations in short informational that those creators, those the people interested in your engine would go to that creator in order to learn that subject according to your guidance.
Would Steve Jobs allow someone else to walk on stage and present the iPhone for the first time?
You're not Steve Jobs. You're your own person to decide how you want yours and how everything to work according to your gifts that you are presenting to the world.
What would Steve do? No, no, I'm joking, but I'm also like, my point is like, No, because they would fuck it up. Honestly, they wouldn't do it right.
Agree.
But
Would
before
not
they
be just.
release it, they could send that to you for your approval before release.
No, because they don't know how it works, and I would have to like it would be easy. Like I want to be able to present like the core. There's a core foundational. There's some core foundational knowledge. This is a really good discussion, guys. Thank you. But there's a core foundational knowledge more than just the documentation that I think I need to present. And then if I can write that out, write my thoughts out, and present that to you, then everyone's on the same page, and we've got an army of people who have the right approach to things. I think that's what kind of needs to happen.
Yeah, and
Well,
I think
I'm just trying to free you up because you're already highly engaged in many different areas where someone else that you hand the information off to that could create your product as needed on example YouTube or other asset that those interested in your product can go to in order to learn.
Well, yeah, but you know, it's kind of like I feel like we have enough features. There's still, you know, more stuff that to add that can always be added in a point one release, but I don't feel like we have a lot of features that other engines don't even have. So I think you know, I'm always looking for the thing that I can do that has the most positive impact, and that's what you should always do in any kind of development. Um, and I really think like it's time for me to address this question: how do I make a game that we were never really able to do that with Leadworks? And I'm so that's I don't know. It's just this is just something I typed up uh, this morning or last night, and so this is just kind of where my mind is, and this is
You
why
will
I don't.
eventually, if you're successful, you will eventually have people adopt your engine and they will begin creating content. What you're saying is that you want to control the initial release of that data and the documentation to standardize um, people using your software. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and
I think that's
I designed all these systems specifically with that in mind, and we have such a great foundation now. Um, we just have to communicate how great the engine is and how easy, you know, communicate how easy it is to do things, because we're communicating the performance a lot, and I think it's actually like it might be kind of intimidating sometimes to some people. But I mean, Ultra is like it's almost perfect. It's like Leadworks, the whole Leadworks philosophy, like the whole thing that made Leadworks great was it was like the idea was is like powerful tools don't have to be painful.
agreed.
And that's what also that's something we haven't talked about that so much with Ultra, but that's also true with Ultra.
Yes, and you need to record some tutorials. I think write it down is not the common way. The most people will watch videos instead of reading text.
Well,
yeah,
what we should probably do is have the tutorial in the documentation and then have a video that goes with it.
yeah,
I would suggest you start talking in a, for example, a tape recorder or something of all the different what you want to present, and then have someone actually create it for you, so that you're not getting tied or bogged down in certain areas where your talent should be utilized elsewhere.
I don't think I can outsource this.
yeah. I think for like the layer zero stuff, like the editor, the flow graph, and everything, I think Josh should do it. And and then we can start there, and then we can say, oh, are people asking for more in-depth Lua tutorials or shader tutorials or material tutorials or something? And then
Uh,
Yeah,
I,
I
yeah,
think that whoever just offered that, yeah, I think you have a you really want to create content for this, is what I hear. And I think what you could do is you could make, if Josh does a video on the flow app that shows basic input, you could very quickly say, hey guys, I don't represent Ultra or Leadworks or anything like that, but I want to show you what I've done, and I've taken it a step further, and I'm just producing all this awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And that would bring people back to you, or back to you and
I can show people how to like import models from Sketchfab and like fix them up and generate LODs. I can show people how to make input systems and like it's very like in-depth stuff. But I don't think it's worth my time to show them like how to use the viewports and how to add a component to an entity.
I'm only giving suggestions. I mean, you can take or leave whatever I suggest. I'm just trying to help Josh so that he's not bogged down in so many different projects that everything grinds to a turtle speed, that he's still highly efficient in every area.
Well, I'm not bogged down anymore.
The way that you help Josh, right?
The hard
it sounds like the way you help Josh is talk about it. The way you help Josh is you create content about his engine and point people to his engine and show ways to use it. We all have some black magic trade that we do better than somebody else, right? I'm a really good shader editor and 3D modeler in Blender, and I do all kinds of weird science data stuff. And then, some of the other members here are great at other functions and tasks. And if each one of us can find ways to utilize that to create content to point to Josh, I think that's what it is. But the official initial documentation, that's got to be him, and our stuff has to be based on what he says. So, and that's fine. That's fair.
Yeah, Josh is in absolute control of everything according to his gifts. I'm just trying to relieve some of the pressure that may be placed on him because he is doing so many things that he might get bogged down where his concentration got to be like a shotgun blast in so many areas where if other people takes up things that just don't have to concentrate as hard, he can actually reach more goals that he is trying to reach.
Well, what I'm saying is like the situation today is not the same as it was 2 years ago. It wasn't. It's not even the same as it was a year ago. A year ago, I was bogged down. 2 years ago, I was bogged down in Vulkan, and that was a nightmare. I did get bogged down. That's why it's 2025, and Ultra is in early access still. But I'm not bogged down anymore. Like the remaining features that need to be done are not. There's nothing that needs to be done that's nearly on the level of like the compute shader vegetation system that I wrote, or the materials painting stuff that I wrote, which was pretty intensive. Like the remaining features, what I'm saying is all the hard work, all the really hard, intensive challenges are done. And so I'm like in 2025, I'm going to have a lot more time to do other things. So one of the things I wanted to do was use my own software, and that's how we got the first-person shooter template that Reap Blue and Andy 90 were also part of that project, and so many thanks to them. And this is another thing that I want to do. It's the engine, the core important parts of the engine are done. So the situation is different now.
Did you think about some dynamic tutorials? So if you make a question mark button, for example, on the components, and then if they press it, then there is a small video showing up like, hey, these are the components, you can use it on this and this and this way.
Yeah, actually, had that idea basically. Like have a help, have like a help pop-up box that when you click over a component or something, have it linked to a video or something. I've thought about that.
Anyways. Because I think the most people learn better if they can experiment with it instead of watching or reading, just try stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could do that pretty easily because we can, like, you know how the thumbnail, like the big huge thumbnails appear when you hover over an item in the asset browser.
Yeah.
We could have like a big window, like hover over. That's one of my favorite features of the UI, and that was only possible because I had wrote the total system from scratch. But something like that is definitely feasible. But most of all, I just want to like focus on the needs of people like that. The one guy, I think it's We Do, but I'm not sure. So if I've got that wrong, I apologize. But yeah, like
I,
now I'm very like this is something that I never wanted to deal with before, but now I'm actually like really excited about. I
may,
want to show them. Yeah.
yeah, I think for the before the 1.0, I think you should have tooltips if you're going in this direction.
Yeah, so like yeah, of course. So like having the undo at this point, having the undo system working, having the tooltips working, that's more important than any other feature I could add. We can always add more features in a point one release.
Right. Like you got to focus on the user experience at this point. Get it, 1.0 has to land.
Yeah, I think so. Anything else about this?
Yeah. Hey. Just thoughts here. But if you're trying to think, what would Steve do? I think the way forward is to look for innovative ways to get the idea out outside of conventional media channels. And I think Twitch is a good opportunity.
Hmm.
There are a lot of guys who just stream themselves programming and building games on Twitch for hours, and they have thousands of subscribers. Concurrent viewers in the hundreds or thousands even. And I just feel like it would be remiss of me not to point out that opportunity because then you could almost like have a Twitch stream where you're in a Discord chat with the guy who's on stream, and he can be following you, sharing your screen to his audience directly. And that way you're targeting an audience who's interested in this product. And it's not so, programming generally, but game development specifically, because who's going to be watching a Twitch stream except people who are interested in that thing. So just feel like putting that out there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Do people do
I
programming? Let me ask you: do people do programming on OnlyFans?
The only
Uh,
downside is
Maybe
the
I could
I
be
only
don't
the
know.
downside
maybe I
if
could
they're
be the
good looking
first.
enough, they do.
the only downside on the Twitch thing is that if you want to work together with someone who has a bit more viewers or live viewers, then they get really expensive. So yeah, it's kind of hard to reach them.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll check Twitch out. That might be interesting. Um,
Probably the cheaper thing to do is just to consider if you want to facilitate more group projects, like a 2 or 3 month thing. It doesn't have to be too long, and it doesn't have to be something I don't think you need to have direct involvement with, Josh. I think this should be spearheaded by some people that are experienced, but you're aware that they're working on this. So they'll have a slew of questions like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? And any problems or hiccups that they run into in the editor, I mean, that's just gold.
you mean like game tournaments?
You know, that's actually a really good idea. You could
Not
actually have a place like that on your website where people could sign up to assist in a game dev cycle that you do once every 3 months. You say, oh, you want to learn about LEDworks or Ultra? Cool. Tell you what, sign up for this thing. You will be brought in. We're going to work on a game. And then whatever comes out of it, not only is it on Switch, but it's also a product that showcases your engine. That's a really good idea.
Mm.
That's kind of. I mean,
You also
that's what we did with the first person shooter template. Except we were
You
sort
don't
of
have to do it, Reap.
we were doing that in
You don't have to
secret.
do it, Reap. I know you had your fill.
We were doing that. We weren't really like we didn't really document that along the way because that was kind of a messy project at first because we were developing features we needed at the same time.
That's gonna happen, and yeah, it is totally gonna be messy. But I mean, all of the components and all that stuff that we now see in the C++ template, like that was probably born of that work, was it not?
Yeah, yeah. And it would be a lot easier now because like the material painting was actually like the major thing that held us back because we couldn't make anything good looking without that. And then once we had it, everything went very fast. So it would be a lot like having like an RPG sample game that would be way easier today. It would, yeah, because we wouldn't have to like invent anything new.
Yeah, and a lot of
Wouldn't
features
it be
came from the FPS, like in the latest beta. Like I think we have we have the
Oh yeah.
we have mesh degeneration, like to limit polys, and we have some other
UV
features.
unwrapping, AO
Yeah,
baking, all of that came out of the experience of the FPS template because we realized how much easier it would be if we had those things built in.
yeah, streamline the pipeline.
Yeah.
wouldn't it be
So
important to teach people how to dig out of those problems? I think that's what stops a lot of people from development is finally reaching that wall, right? But teaching people the mental pipeline of, okay, I'm going to have to uh, create these other tools to make this possible. That's a really important part of it. That's something you don't learn in tutorials. That's something you don't learn by going through a step by step. Is this mental pipeline you have to take, right? And I think that's that's something that you have to develop as a culture. That's even Unity developed a culture of that, and Unreal did, right? So, but I think
Yeah,
that's important. Is showing that.
I think we should teach best practices and everything, because we ran into a lot of messy projects. The FPS template was a very messy project because we had other people. We just one, we were just downloading random things off Sketchfab, and two, we had our own preferred ways of doing things. And I think we should make like a streamlined mindset of how to do things and go from there.
an RPG might be a little ambitious.
I
Maybe
don't
something a
think
little
so.
smaller than that.
I don't think so. I mean, it would just be like a third person controller. You go around, you fight some people, you talk to some people, and you have an inventory system. That's all it takes. You don't have to make a full game. Just make like one
Yeah.
small level.
Well, RPGs is usually like a system, like and in Fallout, it's like special and all that, and then and then luck does this, but agility does this, and speech does
Yeah,
this.
it is
Hey,
why there's purpose-built engines for RPGs because they're very much their own animal.
When I
I
think
think
of when I
the
when I think of an RPG, I just think of like you walk around, talk to people, and it's third person view, and you have a sword.
I I think also it's pretty hard if someone wants to make a game like GTA for itself. So yeah, this is something you don't do without experience because this is a really big project, and yeah, so making small projects, some small games is also in some universities or schools. Yeah, you set up a prototype for a small game and not for the next open world
Well, yeah,
game.
you want to avoid in all learning materials. You want to avoid over specialization. You don't
Yeah,
want to go
because
into really. You'd rather like have it be lighter and just you don't want to go into like super amounts of depth because that makes it less useful, like in
exactly,
general.
yes.
It might be
I like how
maybe
ambiguous you kept it.
What's that?
It could be as simple as you identify how to create a quest, place it on an NPC, walk up to the NPC, how to approach, let's say, kill 10 rats, and go and kill 10 rats, how to reward, what's the added of the
Yeah,
inventory according to the drop of the rats. But not where you're making an entire game at every uh, aspect, but making it simple where they understand how to create a quest page, how to make an inventory page, how to make, if you want to craft blacksmith, how to make it where it requires certain ingredients for that, and making sure you got the ingredients to make it happen, etc. But they're not like showing everything like what you could create, but just a simple sample of every area so that it gets everyone started on their own RPG.
Yeah, with the
Setting a
FPS.
scope's critical.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, yeah, setting a scope on something like this is really critical.
Yeah, for the FPS example, we made one small level that looks good. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, we were going to add
Yes,
multiple weapons and everything too, but we just cut it all.
dude, rat hunt tutorial is a great idea. Just exactly what was described. That is exactly the kind of thing that I think your community needs. Is
Give me a quest.
just right. We're going rat hunting. That's a great idea. Just giving, I hate to say it, hand holding through that initial process, and you're eventually going to get people that are going to come back and say, "But how do I, do this?" And for that, we were talking about your content creators. By then, your content creators, like the people in this room that are saying, "Yeah, I could definitely create content." By then, they have come out and put content out there. But what that actually does is that keeps a lot of that flack from going directly to Josh. That they come to you and say, "Hey, how do I make my version of Rat Hunt have a bigger club for whacking rats?" And your content creators can answer those questions, right?
Oh yeah,
Your content creators become kind of a bulletproof for you. This shotgun blast that was described for you, they actually become kind of a layer for you.
yeah, and
So
that can even
just
be as simple as just answering a question on a forum. Like it's a lot easier to augment something that already exists than to create something from scratch.
So,
In my example, that's exactly what I'm trying to like. They're just little simple examples of what could be in your RPG, how different ways you could create a quest. What's the programming in order to make it where it actually counts down, etc., so that they can actually see all the formats working in a simple version, and they could take off from that point forward.
Dear sir, our poor kingdom has been besieged by a plague of rats. Will you assist us? Will you assist us? You will be most handsomely rewarded.
so Josh, what do you think? Maybe set like a deadline for maybe have some submissions or something for I don't know. I don't know if you want to call it a game jam or what, but basically have some people spitball some ideas on a project that could take like 2 or 3 months that people could contribute to. Know there's a deadline, and then move on to the next and have like a teardown.
Oh, that sounds great, but do I have any volunteers who want to spend their time doing that?
Yes.
You?
yeah,
All right,
I'm in.
Yes.
all right. Show us what you got in 3 months.
Josh, you could set up a sign on. Could sign up and what area that they want to teach and train in.
Yeah, actually, if you want to just like, I don't know who I'm talking to because I can't see everyone's. I'm looking at the PowerPoint, but if you send me a message on the website or on Discord, then we can talk about ideas in more depth.
Maybe you also could create some mentor roles on Discord for experienced people which are working with Ultra, and yeah.
I think that's what you're
You
going to
won't let
want
it.
to do. You don't want to structure almost like you're running a small volunteer game company. It also proves how a larger corporation could integrate such a pipeline into itself, which is how to use Ultra in a game studio environment, right? You almost have that. So that's actually a good thing.
Yeah. Very cool ideas, you guys. I think we'll have opportunity to talk about this in a lot more depth, but you have very cool ideas, and I really appreciate you sharing them.
Yep.
So, what actually needs to be done to get this out of early access? I got to fix the set view range command. I tried to do that yesterday, and I completely broke the lighting, and so I had to like roll back my changes and update you guys again. Sorry about that. It's on the beta branch, so You got to expect that if you're on the beta branch. I'm gonna integrate. I started integrating free image into the engine. I'm gonna remove the DLL plugin feature. It's still going to be available. You'll just have to type core, which is the name. Like Ultra Engine core is where a bunch of the internal hidden stuff that you shouldn't look at is. So it's just you're going to have to type Ultra Engine core load plugin. I'm not going to remove it, but it's just no longer going to be an official feature because it doesn't get used for anything except loading ping and JPEG files, and we can just build that into the engine. Per project settings, I've not forgotten that. A basic shader for water. It's just going to do the same thing Leadworks does at a higher resolution. Volumetric lighting post-process effect that Klepto wrote. Again, thank you very much, Klepto 2. The game publishing system, that's just going to use encrypted zip files. I'm not going to make up a new file format. I need to finalize what the default color scheme and the icons should be. I might add a little bit more color to it because it's very monochrome. I might add a little color to it to make it a little bit more fun looking, I guess. We need to see if we can parse Lua files for that JSON information for components.
Yeah, I tried to do that, and that's very complex. I did it for Legworks because I just wrote a Lua script, but because of the formatting of JSON, it made it very tricky.
Oh, you can save a Lua table as a JSON file, right?
Yeah, but it's just you have to accommodate every little thing. I think it was scanning and converting that to a JSON file.
Yeah, I mean, you just had like what Leadworks did is it wasn't perfect. It just would read the code line like line by line, and it would guess. There are ways you can mess it up. There are ways you can trick it. But
yeah,
it was actually very reliable. I wanted the information to be stored in JSON format so that it was explicit, but then we have this parsing step. That was always kind of my plan. I just haven't done it until now. I wanted to put it off. We might be able to do the same thing with C++ headers. I can't find anything that parses C++ header code though.
Yeah, that was my issue. I was trying to parse C++.
Oh, okay.
I did it in Leadworks just as an experiment where it looked for type defs like expose int, expose like vec4, and it wrote a line since my system used Lua, like it used like the Lua like component as like a bridge to C++ code. So I just wrote the line and I translated the comments and it wrote like it was a very like weird system, and it works really, really, really well. It was for Leadworks, so I'll probably never ever use it. But it was just like an idea, and it works really well. But when it came time to like do like a Ultra Engine version, I was running into like all these problems. I was like, how I'm gonna how I'm gonna like display like the name I want or something.
Yeah.
Because so.
Yeah, and there's I do have like some C++ like pre-parser code that I wrote that might work. I think I should just try it and we'll see if it's good. If it's good, we can use it. If it's bad, then we're better off without it. I want to take a stab at automatically adding the CPP files into a VS project when you create a new component. I'm a little bit scared of this because you're modifying the VS solution file or project file, but I'll just try it and see.
Yeah, and if anything, you have the extension for Visual Studio that I uploaded.
Oh yeah, that too. Which is that's actually a better solution, but I think people are going to expect it to work in the editor.
Understandable.
We have we need to. What was that?
Best solution for that is have the original already backed up, so anything that you would do to the version would be an updated version that would be backed up on another location. So if it messes up, you got the original version to go back to.
Yeah, and we already have that with the project file syncing. Anytime it overwrites a file, it copies it into a backups folder in your project. So yeah, that for sure, because I'm scared of messing up somebody's project. Also, we need to custom shader families was something I had during the 098 beta, and I pulled it out at the last minute because I did so much shader work. I need to finalize that and some things in the shaders so that it doesn't change anymore, and then finally finalize the documentation. And and then bug reports, resolving some outstanding bug reports. That's the full release.
I posted something which is maybe interesting because you can configure the project that it always includes files from certain directories without
Can Visual
editing the
Studio do
file.
that?
No, you can edit the project I posted here in this channel.
Really?
It's from Stack Overflow.
For
So it
Microsoft
includes,
Visual Studio.
yeah.
Okay, that's what we need actually. Okay, that's even better actually. I'll definitely check that out. Thank you.
Does the documentation, the finalized documentation, also include editor extension documentation so people can start making extensions without guesswork?
A decision needs to be made by that on that. Yes.
Yeah, because I think a lot of things are not being done because people don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, it should either be documented or it should not be listed as a feature. So,
Well, I like my editor extensions.
yeah, so do I. Okay, so now's the time. You guys, I asked for 30 reviews and you guys came through, so thank you very much. Last week we had Renha. Is he here today? I think I saw him earlier.
Yes, yes.
And Slick29. So Renha and Slick29, thank you very much for your reviews. That actually, it kind of actually helped me when I was talking to Valve because I was able to show them like, look, the sales for Ultra are so much better than Leadworks. The rating is so much better, even though the rating doesn't factor into your ranking on Steam, which I kind of understand that because that's something that potentially could be sort of like people could game that system. But it did like help to illustrate like just how big the discrepancy was. So thank you very much, guys. Also, T-Tiki, Drogowit, The Cuzzy, Cap Crunch, Metal OS, Acknowledgia, Knievels, Ricochet, Andy. Andy? Is Andy in the house? Oh, we have to play the Andy. We have to play. Oh, do we have to play the soundbite? Can we? Do you mind if we play the soundbite?
You can play it, and I don't mind.
Ryan Gosling has something to say about this.
Andy 90 left us. He preferred an idle lifestyle.
It doesn't even make sense. But Gashish Master, Marcy 3D, Gamer, Saru71, Mazel, Timmy! You, Plisa. Is he here today? Maybe. He comes by to. He hangs out very often. Gravitate Games, Lilybite. What was that?
Lisa's here.
Oh, hello. Thank you. Lilybite, Wreckage. He might be here too. Technofox, Cosmic, Doctor Who 3DGX, who has been a strong proponent of 3D World Studio. Thank you very much. JD Gaming, Reap Blue, thank you. Reap Blue is here. Anthony _ Python, I don't think I've heard him today, but he might be here. CZX18888, Eidolon Trick, Merrick IJC, Kent, Old Amsterdam, Drake Black, who is a superstar bug reporter. Even for NVIDIA, he got NVIDIA to fix a major issue. Merrick, Project Mayhem, Pedrito, James W. Harden, thank you very much, James. Troyanator, Altitude, and then new that last week was Renha and Slick29. Thank you very much, guys. Golf claps all around. Yeah. All right, that's all I got. Uh, Anything else you guys want to say?
I think we put a lot of meat on the bone this weekend, so there's a lot of things you probably wrote down as we were saying things that are is good ideas according to what you wish to engage in.
Well, the thing is, we're now like operating, we're thinking about things that are way higher level. We're not thinking about like low level, like engine problems. How do I fix this thing? We need this feature. Now we're thinking about things that are much higher level, and it's very fun. All
I
right.
got a
I,
silly question for you.
Yeah.
How would you incorporate a procedural two-dimensional noise or three-dimensional noise function? Is that something that we could find a way to integrate for shader artists and procedural mesh generators?
Yeah, I think so. Just the easiest way to do that is probably just have like a Lua extension that generates a 2D Perlin noise map. I've never done 3D Perlin noise, but I've done 2D before, and it's not very difficult. You can
I was
probably just
wondering if,
you can probably just like
like,
find a function on online for Lua. I'm sure that like somebody's written a Perlin noise generator in Lua already.
yeah, that was what I thought was maybe there's, I mean, when we talk about noise, it's just math from old, it's been around for God knows how long. So it's these functions are well defined, and I was just wondering, is that something that could just be integrated in so that if I dropped a terrain on something and just said, here, I'm going to make me a quick map, let's go, that I could just, say, here, noise it up, go, 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 and drop a function on there and then go in there with my paintbrush and start carving away or adding what I like and don't like. I was just wondering if that was maybe that again is not a good topic for this, but that would be neat, a neat feature.
Yeah, actually, I have some old code that handled like different use different techniques for height map generation, and I think I've posted it on the forum. Perlin noise doesn't make the best terrain. There are some other algorithms
You
that
want to use different functions. Yeah.
like Perlin noise. It tends to look like a sheet dropped over like a bunch of like cotton balls or something. It's like very like kind of knobby looking, very roundish. But I've written other code that using other algorithms. I think it's like the diamond squared. I think the diamond squared algorithm does a really nice job if it's the one I'm thinking of. Um,
There are a lot of different functions like Chebyshev, F1, F2, F1 plus F2, F2 smooth, F1 smooth, Voronoi. Chebyshev is a great one, and even the Manhattan function is a great one to use for like blings and stars and all kinds of cool stuff. There are a lot of functions that you could call upon if you really wanted to, and it's Blender has those functions like built into it, and there's just a part of me that says, I mean, that was written in Python. I don't know why we couldn't just like roll that over or find, a way to find a library that would integrate it very easily and quickly into your pipeline. So it's something I'm really passionate about because a lot of times that's how I can generate really cool scenery really quickly. And I think that using it for things like grunge maps, right? So as two surfaces come together, you could actually have it use the ambient occlusion shader to grunge things and add grime at the corners. So there's some neat things you can do there.
yeah, that's. I mean, a lot of that can be done right now as an extension by anybody, and then like some of those things might be good as official features, but at the same time, like I feel like we have enough features right now, and we need to focus more on the full release so we can get this out of. It's still essentially in beta, so I think it's time for the real thing. It's been in development long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, maybe that's a back-end thing.
Maybe
That might be something I specifically back-end.
maybe Steam will like then the app more if it's not early access anymore. Maybe this has something to do with it.
No, it
Also,
doesn't. It doesn't.
No.
I know exactly like what the problem is, and like change like early access doesn't have it, won't have any
Yeah.
influence
okay.
on it.
Yeah, these early access is just a like a sticker, and they don't care if the sticker's on or off. That's kind of why Cyclone's still in early access, because it doesn't like really matter if it still is or isn't, and removing it will just make it look like I'm just totally 100% done with it, which I may or may not be. I don't know. So that's it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, Steam. And when Steam looks at the Leadworks app ID, it's golden. It likes the Leadworks app ID. When it looks at the Ultra app ID, it doesn't like it. Not based on sales, not based on user review, based on completely different criteria that I cannot control. Mostly, it's just a function of the Leadworks app ID is much older. Not that age itself isn't a factor, but that led to. It was also on Steam. Like it was one of the very first Greenlight products on Steam, so that gave it some very good metrics, other metrics that the algorithm looks for. So it's always going to be treated better than Ultra for some reason. For that reason, it's weird. Anyways, I think I'll stop the video here.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
He likes to have the last word.